Hey folks, me, Dean Davis, speaking to you from my unkempt yard in New Baltimore, New York. With Woodgelia blossoming in the background, we have here a snapping turtle, common snapping turtle. This is probably the most common turtle in New York State, the most numerous, although not the one most people see. The one most people see is the painted turtle, but snapping turtles are pretty common. They are a turtle that when I use them in shows, I bring a snapping turtle. Used to bring big ones, but no matter what size snapping turtle I bring, everybody's always seen a bigger one, so it doesn't matter. So I got this little tanager here. And by the way, yes, I'm smoking a cigarette. Another thing wrong with me, I don't mow my yard and I smoke. Blow me, Harry. Anyway, snapping turtles. People don't want to learn anything about snapping turtles. People always want to tell me stories. And there's four main stories that I get, and the first one is a two-parter. It's about size. I'll get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning because nobody in the Ravenna area has boundaries. And somebody will say, Dean, we were fishing up in Sacandaga and we caught a snapping turtle. Must be 4 feet long. That's story number 1, part A. The next part is weight, part B. This turtle must weigh 100 pounds. It took 4 of us to stick him in the back of the truck. So I say, okay, bring him on over. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm standing in my driveway with a fish scale and a measuring tape. And up my driveway rolls this truck. And a magical thing happens in my driveway from the bottom to the top, because by the time they reach the top, I fish around in the back of the truck. And this 4-foot-long snapping turtle, when you put a measuring tape on him, has a shell, on average, 13 inches long. That's the average size of a bathtub-sized washing turtle in the Ravenna area. And this 100-pound turtle that took 4 men to stick in the back of the truck, if you put him on a fish scale, in spring it weighs 8 pounds. In fall, it weighs anywhere from 12 to 14 pounds as they fatten up for winter. The biggest snapping turtle ever recorded in history in New York State was 18 1/4 inches long and 55 pounds. The biggest one ever anywhere was slightly over 19 inches. So there are no giant-sized snapping turtles. Things aren't getting bigger, folks. They're shrinking. Story number 2. And when we got him in the back of the truck, he snapped a 2x4 in half, or a baseball bat, or a broomstick, or a boat oar, or a tire iron. I've heard these stories about snapping turtles biting things in half since I was a child. And people always think I was just dropped on the planet recently, and I haven't experienced life here. When I was 10, the conservation department used to have fishermen and hunters and stuff volunteer to help them do studies on wildlife. And one of the things that I volunteered for was a snapping turtle study. For several years, they had people like me go out and catch snapping turtles. We had to mark on a map where we found them. We had to weigh the turtle with a scale. We had to measure the turtle with an actual measuring device instead of going, it was this big. We had to put a plastic tag with a number in the webbing of the right hind foot. Oh, by the way, you see that? Absolutely pure water. I'll tell you about that in a minute. And we had to record all this data. So if we ever caught the exact same turtle again, we could tell how far it moved, how much weight it gained since the last time, how much it grew since the last time we saw it. I would also do one more thing that nobody asked me to do. I would stick my pencil in its mouth. And in my entire life, I've never found a New York State snapping turtle, including one that was a 1/4 inch short of the New York State record, weighed 35 pounds, that could break a number 2 pencil. Most large snapping turtles can't bite through the paint on the wood. This one here is a youngster, and his jaws are fairly sharp. He's got a nice little beak there on the end, and if he bit me, he'd probably draw blood. Yeah, we'll see if we can get that open again. There we go, so you get a good look at the mouth. If he bit me, he'd probably draw blood. His jaws are as sharp as a bird beak and everything, and he can do a little tissue damage. The bigger they get, the more their jaws wear flat. So being bitten by a large snapping turtle is more like being grabbed by a pair of pliers instead of being cut by a pair of scissors. So all those stories are what I like to call legends, fables. Oh, I like to call them lies because they're not true. That's what a lie is. It ain't true. Story number 3. If a snapping turtle bites, they won't let go. They'll hang on to you forever. You got to pry their jaws open with a crowbar, chop the head off with a hatchet, And guess what? That's almost true. And this, by the way, goes for any turtle. Doesn't have to be a snapping turtle, because all turtles bite. Every single animal in the whole world bites. All turtles bite too. So if you get bitten by a turtle, what you got to do is go back to nature. Turtles don't think about a lot. They're turtles. They have a little voice in their brain that tells them what to do, called instinct. And when the turtle is in water and he's in danger, his brain says, "Flee, get out of here." So the turtle swims away, buries itself in the mud. If a turtle's out of the water and it's in danger, its brain says bite, but it never says when to let go. The turtle is going to have to think about it and decide when the best time is to release whatever he's biting. And if you take a look at him here, this is not the world's brightest creature. If he's going to think about it, it might take hours. And the more you pull and yank and tug and scream, the longer they hang on. So if you ever get bitten by a turtle, take your turtle and your attached body part. Usually it's a finger. Sometimes it's a foot in flip-flops. That usually involves a can of Budweiser. In my daughter's case, it was her nose. My daughter, when she was 4, caught a palm-sized painted turtle halfway across a pond from me. She was all excited, her first turtle. As she's hopping up and down screaming, "Dad, Dad, I caught a painted turtle. Look at him in there. He's hiding in his shell." As she stuck the turtle up to her face to look at him, he bit her nose. All you have to do is take your attached turtle and stick them underwater. And as soon as their head goes underwater, they start flopping their feet and release you, and they try to swim away. If CPS had been in the woods that day, I would have been childless automatically, as I was thrusting my 4-year-old's head into the swamp with her screaming, "No, no, no." But as her head went underwater, the turtle let go and we were able to recapture him, and she had a nice pet turtle for a while. Okay, story number 4. I hear this one 100 times a year. It's one of my favorites. People tell me all the time that they're driving along, they see a big snapping turtle walking across the road. Now, this is another rule that works for any turtle. Doesn't have to be a snapping turtle, but usually it's a snapping turtle they're telling me about. So they see this turtle crossing the road, and they look around, and across this field is a big pond or swamp or lake or stream. And they figure the turtle went for a walk and lost the water. So they first thing they do is they pick up the turtle by the tail. Now, you see that tail? Is that a handle? No, it's a body part. Do you pick up your dog by the tail? No, of course not. Do you pick up your cat by the tail? Not if you like having flesh below your elbows. If you pick up a turtle like this by the tail, you can stretch their spine and paralyze them. So these kind people that want to help the turtle, the first thing they usually do is do something that may damage the turtle for life and eventually wind up causing its death. And then swinging the thing like a pocketbook, they carry the thing back to the water and toss it in. Please don't help nature. To be able to help nature, you actually have to know something about nature, and most people have no clue except what they've seen on TV, and that's all make-believe. Whenever you see a turtle crossing the road, 999 out of 1,000 of them are females going to lay eggs. When she has to lay eggs, it's like when you got to go to the bathroom real bad. You got to do it now, and you can't wait. And that's what makes the turtle get up, leave the water, and walk up to a mile to find just the right place to lay their eggs. If you take that turtle and toss it back in the pond, for all you know, you might be the 5th car that day that this poor thing has dragged itself out of the pond, walked across the big old field, scrabbled up the gravel at the side of the road. It gets all the way to the yellow line, and car number 6 stops and goes, "Oh, look, the turtle lost the water. Let's take her back and toss her in." And the turtle's going, "No, I've got crabs. Please leave me alone." And people always say, "Hey, he was so mean." Well, of course you're interfering with his life. You're big, you're ugly. She has no idea you're trying to help her. That only exists in Lassie movies and Dora and Diego. There's no helping nature. Okay, they have no idea you're trying to do a single thing for them. What I used to tell people is if you see a turtle and you can't help yourself, you have to interfere. Look where the turtle's headed when you first see him and put him across the road in that direction. That may help. That's what environmentalists say. But of course, I'm a scientist. What scientists do is they experiment, they design experiments, they record data. So for a couple of years, as I'm driving during the summer, 400 or 500 miles a day, going to camps and resorts, I got a lot of time between shows. If I saw a turtle crossing the road, I always carried a little bottle of nail polish with me, and I had some spare time. I would mark the turtle with a dab of nail polish so I could identify it. I would pick up the turtle and put it across the road in the ditch in the direction it was headed. Then I would go back to my car and observe. 70 out of 100 turtles that I did this to, 70%, would apparently decide that since I interfered, because remember, I wasn't helping, I was interfering, that now it was too dangerous a time to lay eggs. I might follow them and dig up the nest and destroy the egg. So what the turtle would do is turn around the ditch, go walking back across the road, and go walking back to the pond. If I could hang around for an hour, within an hour, the same turtle would come walking out of the water, walk across that big old field, scrabble up the gravel at the side of the road, get all the way out to the yellow line. As I sat there observing, a car would stop and go, "Oh, look, the turtle lost the water. Let's take her back and toss her in." Please don't help nature. End the madness. Leave nature alone. Snapping turtles are good animals for nature. They eat a lot of fish. But since he's slower than a FEMA disaster relief check, he's slower than BP fixing an oil leak. This thing's so dumb, he couldn't find the ground if you threw him out of a plane. And because of his lack of intelligence and his lack of speed, if he can catch it, nature doesn't want it. So he's never going to catch a strong, smart, healthy fish. That'd be like winning the lotto. He eats sick fish, weak fish, dead fish, injured fish, and fish that are even dumber than he is. And by doing that, he leaves lots of room and lots of food for strong, smart, healthy fish that nature wants. That's what predators are for. Now, this liquid he's squirting out here, a lot of people think it's urine. Turtles do not urinate the same way that you and I do. Their urine is like a paste. It's a crystal packed into a paste. But they do store a lot of water in their bodies for ballast that helps them stay on the bottom. When a turtle gets scared, you pick them up, they sometimes squirt this water out. If they're covered with algae, it may make them slippery so they can get away from you easier. It may startle an enemy, make them drop them. In the case of snapping turtles, they may squirt this water out. They may squirt musk in it. It smells like rotting pumpkin guts. You know, like 2 days after Halloween, after you clean the pumpkin, you forgot to take out the garbage and that stuff is sitting there with fruit flies all over it. And this scent is apparently repellent to certain kinds of predators, and it keeps them safe. Oh, and here's the way to tell if it's a snapping turtle. Not by the fact that it bites. All turtles bite. Snapping turtles have a tail as long as a shell. They got a neck as long as a shell, too. That's a little tip from your Uncle Dean. He can bite my finger anywhere into the middle of his back. Okay, upside down and backwards he can get me. He can get my finger right over there on the side of the shell. He's thinking about reaching around for it now. Okay. Snapping turtles have a jagged edge on the back of the shell, which millions of years ago used to protect adult snapping turtles from huge fish. Okay, that jagged edge gets stuck in their throat, gets stuck in the gills. They spit the turtle out again, it gets another chance to get away. And today that may still protect snapping turtles from, baby snapping turtles from fish like bass that would suck them in whole. And usually, thinking the turtle is going to be trying to escape, they suck them in backwards, and that gets jammed and stuff in their mouth. And the other way you tell is snapping turtle, they have a small bottom shell. It's called a plastron. That bottom shell is the same bone you have in the middle of your chest, your sternum. Holds their rib cage together. That's what a turtle shell is, backbone and ribs, with big bony squares hooked to it, covered with scales. And this is the sternum. In snapping turtles, they have a small bottom shell, which doesn't allow them to pull it all the way inside the shell the way modern turtles do. So nature gives them a hard head, strong, sharp jaws, the long neck, and no sense of humor. So if an animal bothers them, he bites them, they learn a lesson, go away. Since snapping turtles do so much good for nature, they may live 75 to 125 years. And every time they eat, nature rejoices. We'll join you again with something else, a little something about stuff in your own backyard.